185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
"185 Miles South," a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore. Helping out, you know him, you love him. He is the best dressed man on the pod. He is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Hard times coming your way.
I'm glad that you shouted out something from this pod. Respect. Also helping out, 6'2". What you gonna do? It is the mighty Posse Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's cracking?
And rounding us out from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the king of the windmill. It is Kevin Hare. What's up, Kevin?
What up?
What up? What up? Let's just jump right into it. To kick it off, what I wanted to do was, this is our last episode of new type stuff of this year. In 2 weeks, we're going to do the award show. After that, we're going to do the Super 7 for the year. So, this is the last chance we kind of have to check in. So we're doing a 4-man this time around. And I just wanted to do a little quick fire on some things. This started out, I was telling Dan and Chris, dude, I want to put the Chain of Strength 7 inches versus each other again. And they both came back and they're like, we already did that before. I was like, yes, I know, but I still want to talk it, you know? And so then I started thinking, like, maybe there's certain things that we should hit once a year to see how we're feeling. Because, you know, which Chain of Strength 7 inch do you like more? This shit changes all the time for me. It's very hard for me to decide. I like to hash it out. And so, yeah. And then also I wanted to get Kevin's take on all this stuff so we know where he stands, and we'll check back in at the end of next year and see where he's at too. So first thing I want to know, Chain of Strength, True Till Death 7 inch, 1989 Revelation Records versus What Holds Us Apart, 1990 Foundation Records. Dan, how you feeling on this day?
True Till Death all day. True Till Death has the song True Till Death on it. Also has Never Understand. Game over.
Yeah, it has Never Understand. But is that a complete jack move on Youth of the Day, One Family, Dan?
I don't care. That bass part in the middle, give
It's
it
better.
to me.
It's better than One Family. I'm with you. Yeah. I'm still saying True Till Death because it's an all-time mid-tempo banger, right? The song. It can stand up against like the best Discharge mid-tempo bangers, I think. I will say on the 7 inch, it has the only Chain song that I don't love, which is The Best of Times. And it's wild because like the second 7 inch, What Holds Us Apart, it's like the songs get even, like they get more complex, but also somehow shorter. Like, this is some of the greatest songwriting in the history of hardcore. And Bratton's drums, like, shine even more on this one, I think. This is, like, all-time hardcore songwriting. But, man, it's hard to turn away from True Till Death. That's where I'm staying today. What do you think, Chris?
Well, if you're listening right now, don't go into your archives, because I think we're all given the same answer we gave last time we talked this. And I'm going to be the dissenting third voice. I'm taking What Holds Us Apart. And again, like I said last time, it's really off the strength of the nostalgia I have around the song Too Deep Until Now. That's the song that I've probably covered more than any other song. I've covered a lot of songs in my life, but there's just something special about that song that makes it impossible for me to choose anything else. I'll also add, in preparation for this podcast, for the first time in my life, I went to YouTube and I listened to the OG mixdowns. So I don't really have anything good to say about those mixdowns. They're fine, but anyone who is saying that the remixes aren't better is just fronting.
I would say anyone that says the remixes suck, which there's a lot of people that say that, are out of their mind. But, you know, that's the one that I grew up with, you know?
Yeah,
for sure. I do think the originals sound better, if I'm being honest, you know. And the egregious thing, the egregious thing about the remix is that they changed the song orders, dude, you know, and they cut off the front of Just How Much, right? Is that the one? So it's like, you know, it started out like It's a Limit. They just fucking hacked that. Like, what the fuck is going on here, dude? Okay, Kevin, what do you think?
So I'm gonna go True Till Death. Just how much into True Till Death? I mean, come on. Obviously, when bands their most popular song, sometimes they can get played out, but also they're the most popular song for a reason, and that's True Till Death. I mean, it's just classic. And then like all the other songs are good too. Like Never Understand. Shout out to Letdown. One time somebody was wearing a Letdown crew neck at one of the chain shows, and Chris Bratton made him get on stage and be like, check it out, he's wearing a crew neck that says Letdown on it, and pointed him out in front of the whole crowd.
Okay, boomer.
Dude, truly, the kid was just standing there, just had no idea what to do. But yeah, I mean, just the first two tracks alone are enough, and then the rest is just gravy on it.
Okay, let's go on. We'll stay with you, Kevin. We're doing Cro-Mag's Age of Quarrel, 1986 Profile Records versus Victim in Pain, 1984 Rat Cage Records. Where do you stand?
This one, I go back and forth literally every day. And when I was thinking about it today, I was going back and forth. And like, I think if I'm going to put one on, I put on Victim in Pain. But when I listen to it and like, which one gives me the fire more when I listen to it, I think that it's Age of Quarrel. So I'm going Age of Quarrel, but it's fucking hard. It's every day. Like Victim in Pain is perfect, but I don't know. The highs of Age of Quarrel today, that's what I'm saying.
That's fair. What do you think, Chris?
I'm taking Age of Quarrel as well. Agree with everything Kevin said. Like, both records are perfect. I just, Age of Quarrel, despite like the best efforts of some online personas, is top 2 favorite records of all time for me. It's just perfect. I ride for the whole journey. Even Malfunction and Seekers, which I know Zach is not necessarily a fan of those tracks, but I love those tracks and I never skip them. I'm taking Age of Quarrel.
You're a wild man. I'm still going Victim in Pain. Blind Justice into Last Warning, greatest hardcore song of all time, no doubt. And then they put their slow song, they had the common courtesy to put it as the last song on the record, With Time. Plus, With Time is super sick. Malfunction might be better than With Time, but With Time is like a sick song to end the record on, just how it gets all like trippy and stony. It's like AF on a psych trip, you know what I mean? It's just a cool as fuck song. I'm staying AF today, but this one's hard because when you listen to Cro-Mag's Age of Quarrel, it's like, okay, this is like the best record of all time of any genre of music. So it's very hard to beat it, but Victim in Pain might be the one that can pull it out. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, it's kind of hard putting these two records up to each other because they both suck. Psych! They're both absolutely untouchable. I knew my answer before. I know my answer the next. It's always Age of Quarrel for me. But I feel bad not having Victim in Pain worshipped in this. I mean, it's still worship, don't get me wrong. The thing is, just the sheer sound of Age of Quarrel just tips it over. Like, both have amazing songs, but the sound and the vibe of Age of Quarrel is just, it's the synthesis of what is hardcore, like with the hard. Like, it's absolutely perfect. Like, Age of Quarrel.
I was hoping we split it.
Yeah. It's interesting because Age of Quarrel, you're right. It's like hard, right? It's 86. Like metal has now infiltrated hardcore. But like Cro-Mags are doing like the best mix. Instead of like mixing with speed metal, they're mixing with Motorhead, which works. Like the Bad Brains Motorhead mashup wins over like, you know, the Antidote plus Metallica mix. You know what I mean? So yeah, okay, let's go on. Breakdown 87 demo versus Raw Deal demo. What do you think, Chris?
It's Raw Deal all day for me. Breakdown demo's dope. It's absolute caveman music in the best way. Makes me want to club someone over the head with a old schooly wooden club. But Raw Deal is just like next level. Those songs make me want to like smash basically everything within reach. And I think to my ear, the recording just feels a little bit more crisp and vibrant. So I'm taking Raw Deal.
What do you think, Dan?
I'm going Breakdown because it is the knuckle draggingest of all time. It's like so like wearing like concrete shoes and like chains around the fists, and it's just that, because I think maybe there's a little bit of knowing what's around the corner from Raw Deal killing time wise, you know, that I'm like enjoying hearing those vocals on breakdown on the songs that it's just so like I said it last round, I'll say it this round. Hardcore breakdown is it.
It's hard because like I factor in Brightside too in this one. Like, oh, if I lose the Raw Deal demo, I have Brightside, which I like even more, and it has almost all the songs. But like, it's strange because I don't factor that into the Cro-Mags versus Victim in Pain like argument at all. Like, the Cro-Mags demo is almost all the same songs, and in the same way, it's a more raw recording than the LP. You know, so that's kind of a weird thing. If Brightside didn't exist, this would be really close, and I might go Raw Deal, but because I love Brightside, it's one of my favorite LPs of all time, I like it more than this demo. I'm Breakdown 87 demo all day. Like, it's just one of those records that nothing else sounds like it from them even, right? It never gets touched because half these dudes, they join and do the Raw Deal demos, a bunch of the same dudes, you know what I mean? So, hey, what are you going to do? What do you think, Kevin?
You fuck with my friends, so now you got to pay. We're going the Breakdown demo. I'm exactly with you. If Brightside didn't exist, I would probably choose Raw Deal. I listen to Brightside more than I listen to the Breakdown demo, but I don't go for the Raw Deal demo too much. If I'm going for Killing Time or Raw Deal, is Brightside every single time. Like, not really a question. The only time I really listen to the Raw Deal demos is if I'm putting stuff on shuffle. So the Breakdown is just classic. It sounds better than the Raw Deal demo too. It just sounds kind of blown out and crazy. Yeah, it's just all the songs are hard, and it's the definitive Breakdown record. I mean, it's better than Blacklisted, which is cool, but this is the Breakdown record where I don't think that the Raw Deal demo is the Killing Time record. I think Brightside is.
Yeah, and it's better than the next Breakdown demo as well. And the two songs that don't make Brightside off of the Raw Deal demo are probably like the two songs that shouldn't have made Brightside if we're cutting two songs.
I will say, though, I do love Only Strong Survive. Like, that song, I think, is awesome.
I like them both. Enough. I'm not knocking either. I'm just saying we're not losing fucking wall of hate, right? So we're not losing new release, which is like maybe. I mean, that song is so fucking wild. I could go on all day about it. Okay, let's go on to Best Black Flag Singer. Dan, I know your answer, but spit it out.
Keith. It never gets better than Nervous Breakdown. It never gets better than that for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, I used to like Chavo the most because Everything Went Black. The CD was my favorite thing to listen to. Now I mostly listen to the first 4 years. So I'm with you now, Dan. I go Keith. And if I was ranking them, I'd go Keith, then Dez, then Chavo, then Mike V, then Henry. What do you think, Chris?
Honestly, this might be a hot take, but I don't really have a strong opinion on this. Like, I dig all of them. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if the Mike V version has recorded anything, so I don't know if I've heard it. But as far as the other ones, like, I could take or leave. I could take any of them. Like, I like aspects of all of them. I'll take Keith. I agree it doesn't get better than Nervous Breakdown. Although Dez, I really like Dez a lot.
Dez is great. And when you listen, it's like Henry sounds like Dez, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Kevin?
So I'll preface this by saying I'm not a huge Black Flag guy. They're just a band that I've listened a million times, but just never completely 100% in on. But
Welcome to the fold. Welcome to the fold.
But I think mine is Rollins because he just kind of sounds darker and more twisted than the others. I mean, I think it's probably credit because the music gets a little bit darker too, so that's why. But I will say that it was really close back and forth between him and Chavo because, to be honest, when I think of Chavo, that's like what I think Keith Morris sounds like in my head. And then I listen and I remember that's actually Chavo and not Keith Morris, if that makes any sense at all. But
yeah, and like we've all watched The Decline a million times, I'm sure. And like Chavo's performance on The Decline is just like out of this world. Okay, let's go on to Bad Brains, the Roar tape versus Rock for Light. How you feeling right now, Dan?
This is the easiest of them all. The Roar tape is literally sent from the gods. It is untouchable, even the reggae. It's unbelievable. Raw tape all the way. The way it sounds, the perfect speed for Bad Brains. I know they get faster, I know they get crazier, but I think they're just at the most powerful at this tempo. And just listen to the breakdown on Right Brigade, listen to Fearless Vampire Killers, listen to every single song and just bathe yourself in perfection.
Yeah, I think that I went in on this on either the 82 or the 83 episode. I can't remember if I went in on the Roar or the Rock for Light year, but this is like one of those wild things, right? Like I've always been a Roarsman, and the reason why is because I feel like, you know, there's a bunch of songs from the Roar tape that are also on Rock for Light, and they sound sped up, and it kind of loses some of like the pulse. This is wild because it was only like a couple years ago that I found this out, but there's been a great betrayal, dude. And basically, like in 1991, the Caroline version of Rock for Light was sped up. And like, so for people of my generation, and probably for all four of us on this line, that's like the version that we've all heard. And it's like that sped up version. And so this gets fixed in 2021 on like those represses that came out. But still, like the version online, like Spotify, is the fucking sped up version. So like it's pretty fucked up. And so I've been trying to like correct myself over like the last couple years. I listen to Rock for Light a lot now, like the non sped up version, and I love it. And I love all the songs that like aren't repeated on it mostly. Yeah, you can't beat Roar. It's like it's got an argument for being the greatest hardcore record of all time. And I don't think that Rock for Light does.
Also,
what do you think, Kevin?
Also, best artwork too.
Yeah, but been beaten to death by way too many ripoff like versions of it, right?
Not that
it's like the most. It's not their fault.
I have yet to see a band do a ripoff of the Rock for Light cover. Just like a yellow shirt that fades from one side to the other. So my answer for this, I have a feeling I'm going to be the lone wolf on this one too. But my answer for this one is really going back to what Zach was saying about when we were talking about Chain of Strength, and how sometimes like the recording that you grew up on is what you become used to, and when you try to listen to the other one, it's different enough that it's you default back to what you're familiar with. And for me, I grew up on Rock for Light, apparently the sped up version. But I wore out that tape growing up, and so that's always my go-to whenever I want to listen to Bad Brains, which is quite often.
Yeah, I can't imagine like listening to Rock for Light first and then hearing Roar. I mean, that's like so wild to me, and I totally understand that, because if you're used to the faster versions and then you hear Roar, it's like, okay, like I can't even imagine like what that would sound like. What do you think, Kevin?
If you say the words Bad Brains to me, I think what starts playing in my head is the Regulator bass intro from Roar. When I listen to Roar, that's all those versions are what play in my head. Like I don't really think of the other one. Like I have the regular version or like the original Rock for Light, like I've listened to it, but when I think of the Bad Brains, the original Roar versions are what play in my head every time. That's what I heard first too. So to me, it's not even a question. Rock for Light is great, but when I think of Bad Brains, I'm thinking Roar sessions for sure.
All right, last one of this Minor Threat. We go on the filler 7-inch or the out of step 12-inch. What do you think, Kevin?
I think there is a real case that filler is the hardcore songwriting perfected. Like, I'm not saying it's the best 7-inch ever, but it might be. But like hardcore songwriting, they nailed it right there. Like it doesn't really get any better than that. So again, when I think of Minor Threat, I think of filler, and out of step is great. But if I had to choose one every single time, we're going filler.
What do you think, Dan?
So Kevin said it might be the best hardcore 7-inch of all time. It probably is, but I'm going out of step. I mean, we can revisit this in a year. My answer could easily flip. You know, that's what we're doing here. Like, but right, I mean, out of step's got Betray, which is just an absolute. I mean, it's so stupid to say it's a masterpiece because every single Minor Threat song's a masterpiece, pretty much. You just get so much like sardonic, like sick of just so much like vitriol on the Out of Step 12-inch, like, whereas there's just raw, unabashed anger on filler. And you can seriously text me tomorrow, I'll probably say the filler 7-inch, but today I'm saying the Out of Step 12-inch.
What do you think, Chris?
This was tough, and I went through and listened to both of them again today just to make sure I wouldn't change my mind. And I did as I listened to both of them. There's so many good songs on both of these. They both sound just ferocious as fuck. You know, flip a coin. There's so many good tracks, like hits honestly, like if we're doing a straight edge Super 7, I could pick like 7 tracks, right, between these two. Sorry, I had to get a little dig in at Dan, but I'm taking filler, and I think it's just like, I don't know, again, nostalgia. Like hardcore, I've said this before, but like nostalgia is a real important element of hardcore, and like the first time I put this on, as I'm sure all of us, assuming it was at the beginning of the cassette, not somewhere in the middle, the "what happened to you" is just like instantly grabs you. You're instantly in love. You instantly are craving more of this. If the rest of these songs, or even like the rest of that specific song, don't exist, like that's enough to pull you in and know that you want to do this for the rest of your life, So I'm going to go filler by just a hair's width, but that's what I'm taking.
Yeah, if you think about like that line, "What happened to you?" It's like nothing sounds like that, right? Like it's just the perfect mix of rage and tunefulness, and it's just one of those things. Like you're hooked. I can't imagine like not loving it. It's just one of those things that we can all agree on, and I think I've said a lot recently, but like that's why I love talking 80s hardcore so much, is because there's like a consensus. Like we all agree on like the shit that's great, and like there's not a single person that likes 80s hardcore and doesn't like the whole Minor Threat filler 7-inch. Like you gotta be a king fucking asshole, like contrarian, to be like, nope, filler, not for me. You know what I mean? Out of Step is great. One of the most iconic covers of all time, too, we should mention. But filler is like, it's a record that can stake its claim for being like the greatest hardcore record of all time. There's very few things that I think can touch it. You know what I mean? Like, I think you could make an argument for Victim in Pain or Age of Quarrel or Why or like the Negative Approach 7-inch or Roar. But like, there aren't that many other things I think you can make an argument of versus filler. And I don't think you can make an argument for Out of Step versus filler for like best hardcore record of all time. I think you can land either way on this, but it's wild. The older I get, like the further apart I think these two are, and just the better and better I think filler is compared to like everything else in the catalog, which is, maybe the greatest catalog in the history of hardcore punk. So there you go. All right, let's go on to some Newerish stuff. I did not come up with a list of shout out stuff, so we're jumping right in.
Psych!
All right, I actually got a few things. First off, Bayway put out their new EP, Bayway Takes Manhattan. Came out on Days Records. It's on all the streaming platforms and everything, so check that out. The band Wasted Space put out their demo. It's on Rebirth Records. Rebirth Records doesn't miss, so check that out. Also, while you're there, dude, you know what to do. Check out that False Salvation demo and buy it. What are you doing? Okay, the band Street Sweeper out of Australia. I can't remember if I shouted this out on the last episode or not, but they put out a new EP called Don't Wait. And their EP from last year was one of my favorite things of the year. That song, Mama Can't Do No Time, was maybe my favorite song of the entire year. This is a more stripped down record. They went and did it. I think they said they did it in a 4-track and like just did it in their studio space. They're stripped down to like a 3-piece now. It works. It's very good. I don't like it as much as the EP from last year. I think they should beef it back up because this dude has one of the best voices going, and whoever plays the guitar leads plays some magical ass leads, and it just sounds better with 2 guitarists. So this is real nice though. I was initially kind of disappointed with it, but then I put this first song, that Don't Wait, on a playlist, and it shuffled around and it came on, and I didn't recognize it, and I pulled it out of my pocket on my phone. I was like, the fuck is this, dude? And it was Street Sweeper, and I was like, god damn, this song is good, dude. So this EP is worth a listen. I like it a lot now after multiple listens. Finally, the band Speed Plans. They put out one of our favorite LPs of last year, and now they're following it up with a 7-inch called DUI You Can't Afford It on Convulse Records, and it's pretty sick. It doesn't have like that wild-ass recording of last year, but it still sounds raw, and it might have the best 3-song run of the year. with shut up into shut the fuck up into fuck you. So how about that? Check that out. There is a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page, or just find us on Spotify. The first thing we're going to talk is a band called Force out of Belgium. They put out their self-titled 7-inch on DBNO Records out of Germany. 7-inch is not out yet. It is up for pre-order, but it is available on Spotify and all that. So let's get into it. Chris, you hit the group chat with this. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I dig this a lot. Belgium band, features Vince from Rise and Fall, but doesn't sound like Rise and Fall at all. Also has, I believe, the singer of Mind War sings in this band. Also doesn't sound like Mind War. Is really good. It's like, not that those two bands are not also really good, but the first riff gives off heavy Locking Out vibes to me. But overall, I don't really think it leans too heavily into the Locking Out lane. Like, they certainly visit it again, but I think more it just leans into ripping roots hardcore. Vocalist has a burly voice and also is really good at like writing vocal hooks and like the cadence that he uses is I don't know, really punctuating. I know the line that stands out, pointing fingers is all that you do. Now I point the finger at you. Two-Faced Rat might be my favorite track and also a favorite track name. Yeah, it's just a ripping riff, blazing fast beat, vocal cadence is like really pops over the top. Price to pay. Yo, that Todd Jones guest vocals is so gnarly and like really kind of makes me wish like Vengeance was more than just one track. That project that Todd did that he sang on. I don't know. I'd be super hyped on him singing in another roots hardcore band. Like Nails obviously rules, but like this guest track, like his spot just makes me want to smash through walls. I know Zach has a profound hatred for guest vocal spots, but I don't know. It's super sick. I'm really hyped on this.
Yeah, it's not a good month for guest vocal spots and my feelings on them. I'm calling for a complete moratorium on them. And here's a pretty good example, right? Like, okay, Jones, he's got a great voice. He sounds great on here. He sings in one of the greatest extreme music acts there is. You know what I mean? And they just put out another great record. He kills it. He sounds great on everything. And it's like, I think this song is better with the singer just by himself. You know what I mean? I think that like the guest vocal stuff, it takes me out of the songs where it's like, oh, here's another thing you're throwing at me. And then like, just because I read so many press releases, like I can, when I hear them, I like see them written. Like I can just be like, oh, featuring Todd Jones of Nails. You know what I mean? It's like, like, can't we just have like fucking gnarly hardcore by itself without like the features? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like features have been a part of hardcore for 30 years now. Right. But like, I just think that in your first record, it'd be cool to like, just like stand on your own. You know, it's like, you know, guest vocal on Roar or Victim in Pain or Age of Quarrel. You know what I'm saying? Like that would, it would like take you out of it. Like, oh, what's this? You know? And I think that Price to Pay song is the best song on the record. He wrote an amazing hook. Like those bookend sing along parts that he and Todd both sing. It's awesome. Like it's like an insta classic song in my opinion. And that might be like a piece that like leans into the Locking Out stuff as well as like that beginning of Sorry Excuse, the first song on the record. But I'm with Chris. Like the rest of this is like pretty much just straight up great roots hardcore. You know, I know they did a demo like in 2017, but like this is kind of like a fresh thing from this band, like almost like a starting over, I think. And kind of to come out the gate like this, like it's so good, dude. It's on the level of like that No Idols demo from this year where it's like, oh my God, like this band pops up and is putting out like LP quality, like hardcore songs on like a first release. So yeah, it's just killer. It sounds great. Everything about it's great. Again, don't love the guest vocals, even though like this is best case scenario for guest vocals, right? Todd sounds awesome, all that. Just don't love the choice. And got a shout out. They mix it up pretty good, fast. And then also they got that scissor beat song, the When the Sun Goes Down. So much respect for changing up the fast beat. I think this thing is great. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, this is, do you think, actually, so just to go back to your moratorium, do you feel like you're just sick of it? So even even if something sounds good, you're already just off it just because you hate the fact that it's happening.
Absolutely, because this undeniably sounds good. Todd sounds awesome on this. Like that
Yeah.
that is like not debatable, you know? So like
So
yes, this is my own like blind hatred for the trope right now. It's like I am very happy that we got over the playing the chill track to into the hard track. I haven't heard that in a while, which is great because that shit was fucking tired. And maybe
So-
now that like that is not irritating me, like my focus is gone fully onto guest spots. So I don't know.
yeah. So when you listen to like Big Noid on a Mob Deep track, you're like, oh, get off of here, Big Noid, you motherfucker.
Well, I will tell you, like that kind of plays into it, right? Because when you go see rap groups, they don't do the other person's part. You know what I mean? So it's like the songs do get cut up and fucking whack. Like when you go see rap groups live, you know what I mean? You're like, well, what about that other part? But like they don't do it because the dude's not there.
They should get some dude in a letdown hoodie to come up on stage and bust that part.
Yeah.
It totally like tricks you right out the gate because it comes in really hard and he does this like guttural growl and you think it's going to be like way more like like almost like metallic style vocals, and then the vocals come in and that song Sorry Excuse could just be a stop and think song, like straight up, like the riff, the way the vocal delivery is and everything. And as a stop and think mega fan, I am very here for that. But then Two-Face Rat, it does launch into like much faster, straight ahead hardcore. But I do love that it does come back to that groove-based riffs throughout the demo, or 7-inch, soon to be 7-inch. I really like it a lot. I spent a lot of time with this since it's been in our group chat, and I've really I'd go back to it like without having to study for the pod. So it's definitely, I love that you said it's fighting the No Idols, you know, and a couple other things as like demo of the year. Hindsight still got my vote, but this is really, 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 really top notch, and I do love it, and I do recommend it.
Yeah, you know, they do break fast on Sorry Excuse, like on that song as well. So, and we should also call out the cover is super sick, dude. We already sent out the ballots for the year-end awards, but this might have made the ballot if we got it in time. I don't know. What do you think about this one, Kevin?
I think that this sounds really good. It sounds like a mid-late 2000s band, like not the early 2000s, like the era after that, in a pretty cool way. Like the vocals remind me a lot of, I couldn't completely pinpoint, but like generally like the Ludax, Kids Like Us, Brace War type of thing. But I know there's something more specific that I just can't think of. I agree that Price to Pay is the best song on here. It reminded me a lot of No Warning vocal cadence on that one. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that this just sounds very good. And when it started in the very beginning, I was kind of like, I kind of feel like he's forcing the vocal cadence, or maybe he doesn't have enough words or whatever. And then 2 or 3 songs later, I was just thinking like, man, this singer is really good and he really knows the vocal cadence and how to do it. So I kind of like, it grew on me and I kind of forgot like that my opinion was completely opposite in the beginning. And I kind of thought that every time, like by the time it got the tracks 3 or 4, I'm like, this singer is really like in control and knows what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's got a great voice and his vocal patterns are really good too. So all around killer band, dude. This is something to be reckoned with, dude. This is really good. Okay, let's go on to the band is Mystique. They are out of Singapore. They put out an LP called Face Your Fate on Quality Control Records. Dude, I love this thing. I think that like, I'll dive into it more, but I just want to say like all the bands that do like this post Age of Quarrel, but pre Best Wishes style of hardcore, they're all awesome, right? Like you think like Akulu, Big Cheese, Blow Your Brains Out, and now Mystique. Like this is like a style that like does not miss as long as you get a good recording. And this recording sounds so nice and clean. And the mix is good. Everything about it just sounds good. I toss it on when I'm out on a bike ride and it's like, I don't feel like turning it off. I think that like that's a win in hardcore records in the year 2024. If you don't feel like you want to skip anything, if you don't feel like you just want to listen to half the record, like that's a straight up victory. So yeah, I dig this a lot. What do you think, Kevin?
I got a real strong Leeway vibes from a lot of the guitar work on this, which I think is the best part about it. And the production, especially all the music, I think sounds really good. I don't really like how the vocals were produced and how they sound. Like my biggest issue with this is that I don't feel like the singer really goes for it enough, and it can kind of be anything. It could be groovy or hard or angry or, you know, soulful, whatever. Like I just feel like they're just kind of stuck in the middle. So I kind of want a little bit more from that. But otherwise, I feel like, I mean, I know it's the LP, but like I feel like this sounds like a new band to me. I don't know how long they've existed, but like this sounds like a pretty new band. I feel like once they kind of settle into what they really are, uh, the next thing might even be better. But overall, I think that it's cool, and I'm glad that it exists. I just wish the vocals were recorded a little bit more. And the biggest thing that stands out, and I think this kind of goes to Zach's point, is the speed guest spot. It just kind of like overtakes the song, and it's a little too much. But also, I forgot to mention the last one. Now I'm kind of thinking, like, what is the origin of the hardcore guest spot? Because I was thinking about so many of the records. I'm like, yeah, there's no guest spots on any of those classic records, and I never really thought of it before. So now I'm curious about that. But yeah, overall, this is cool, and you know, I feel like this band can just keep getting better.
I don't know if it's a recording thing that is making her voice sound like that. I think that's how she sounds, and it is like a little jarring the first time you hear it, because she's just kind of like loud talking, it sounds like, you know, and I don't know if you know, like I remember when like the Death Threat demo came out, and a lot of people didn't know what to make of Aaron's vocals, because he's kind of like almost talking on some of it. Like he's not like yelling, you know what I mean? And this singer is not really yelling either. And so it definitely sounds unique. And it's one of those things where the more I listen to this, the more I like it. But it's strange, because I'm not saying this in a negative way because I like it, but it almost sounds like she has zero charisma. And because like there's like no charisma, that somehow like turns into charisma. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's like, it makes it really unique. Like the fact that like you go all the way one direction and have like no charisma. And so like, it's like, oh, well, this is actually very unique, because like we've stripped out all of what generally makes like a singer great, and somehow it works. And that sounds fucked up to say, but like, it is why I like this. Like it's a unique voice sitting on top of like very well done hardcore that is like calling out a specific era. Do you think that's fair, Dan? What do you think?
Well, it's so funny that you two went before me to talk about this, because like my notes on this were both kind of like celebrated by both of you, right? So first and foremost, I wrote about on my notes like how I love the pocket in between Age of Quarrel and Best Wishes. It's that marshmallow not off the stick yet, you know? And this recording enhances the era that they are celebrating, like, or at least obviously they're a band of 2024, but they are celebrating a certain sound and a certain time period, and it's coming through so well. The other thing I said is I don't know whether to break into their practice room with a fucking defibrillator and like hammer her on the chest and be like, wake up. But then the other part I said, I also love the fact that she's just so laid back, leaning in the pocket, like almost like a Jonathan Richman hardcore version, you know, like road runner, you know, it's like that kind of like just chill, but it's over extremely aggressive, hardcore. And I do almost, I want there to be some highs to go along with that monotone style. I mean, Guru's the best, but sometimes he'd get a little bit angry, right? And he'd be, you know, he'd go a little bit more, you know, hard on a couple lines or to prove a point, like tons of guns. Like it just deliver a little bit harder. So if there's a monotone styling going on with these vocals, just give me some like parts that are especially emotional to really then the pocket of that monotone style would be enhanced even more, because then you'd get those highs with the constant, and I think that would be perfect. So that's where I do enjoy it a lot, though.
It's a very monotone vocal on top of like music that's monotone, and like the monotone is what makes the music good. So I can see how like the vocals on top might be too much. There are parts where, you know, it's like that, you just might get it, but still like the delivery is like that. It's like from a lazy chair, which again is like, I think you can break either way, right? Just be like, this like is too laid back, or you can think like, oh, there's actually like kind of a sick swag to like the no charisma approach. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
It's funny that you say there's kind of a sick swag to the no charisma approach, because like I kind of think she does have charisma, and I think, to Kevin's point, I think some of it maybe gets buried in the production choice on the vocals. Like I think there's a little bit of a reverb echo that kind of makes it not as crisp, and so some of that swag maybe gets lost a little bit. But like, you know, there's certainly like some kind of like almost like John Joseph kind of like, oh, you know, like the John Joseph Ghost voice.
That's true.
So, and then like there's other parts that kind of sound like maybe like a less snotty Chi Pig from SNFU. So I don't know. When I first started listening to it, the vocals really caught me off guard, because like I was, you know, you hear this style of music and you have an expectation for what the vocals are probably going to sound like, and they definitely don't. And kind of like Kevin was saying on the Force, when I first started listening to it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. But then like the further I got into the record, I was like, no, this is actually pretty sick. And I think a lot of that is like the uniqueness and how different it is, you know? You guys all said this, I wrote it in my notes, but like musically somewhere between Age of Quarrel and Best Wishes. But I also heard some like Death Threat riffs in there. There's certainly some breakdowns that you could chant SDS Brotherhood over, and so that's pretty sick. And it's super riff heavy. Like there's riffs all over this record. I don't know, I dig it a lot. I think it's super cool. It, you know, it stands out. It's you know, like Kevin said, I am also really kind of excited to see where they go from here, and you know how they continue to like refine their sound, and hopefully they come to the US sometime, because I'd love to see them live.
Before we move on, I just want to circle back, because Kevin did call it out. Like there is a guest spot on this, Gem from Speed, and it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you get one of the biggest names in like the genre on your stuff, and yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's a killer guest spot to have, but I don't know. I think the song is better with just her rocking it herself. Yeah, I don't know. I just, they fully pull me out of the record now. And like, maybe that's my own dumb fault, but it's just how I feel, man. Okay, let's go on. The last thing we're going to talk is the band Lexan out of Ohio. They put out their demo 2. It came out on Delayed Gratification. Dan, you wanted to talk this, so what do you think?
I love this. I love the fact that it's roots and rocking hardcore combo. Think Suicide File, but think more like Single Coil, influenced by things like the Saints or Stiff Little Fingers or something, just slightly, but with hardcore, but with really shredded vocals, really, really, really catchy riffs, really good add-on solos, but not like dominating or wanking all over the track. My favorite song on it is Workhorse, with that total 77 style, like dana 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 dana, and then it takes off from there. It's with the kind of like, is that like arpeggio, or is that like I don't know musical terms, everyone, sorry. But I really loved their first demo, which was a lot more roots, and they've kind of just grabbed a little bit more of that. I don't know. It's like a little bit of that Single Coil Aussie vibe is present here, but this is great. I would really love to see this band live. I would totally want to know what they're like live. I'm just really psyched that the second thing that they put out is really great and slightly different from the first thing, but not a complete like change of direction or anything. Just a little bit of an evolution, or a little bit of just more influences coming into the thing. So for anyone out there like who hasn't checked it out yet, please check it out. But I would say like on a couple songs, the vocals sound a little bit like West American Nightmare singing over like a 77 version of Suicide Files harder songs. I don't know. That's my little wrap up.
I think that it's way better than the first demo, mostly because of like the decisions on like how they recorded the vocals. The first record, the vocals were totally buried in distortion and also like in the mix, which again, maybe this is just like we're coming up on Festivus, people. It's an airing of grievances of everything I don't like. You know what I mean? But
Get the
he sounds,
poll.
that's right. He sounds great here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and that's like my beef with like these dudes that like hide behind like either the mix or the vocal distortion is like, you probably have a good voice, bro. Like, let us hear it. Cause like, that's what's going to give you personality. And I think he does a good job here. What do you think about this one, Chris?
Yeah, first off, Delayed Gratification, like one of the sneaky best hardcore labels out there. Like they're always putting out quality, like just raging hardcore. And then also like putting shine on a lot of bands from unconventional cities. Like if you go through their, through their web store, you'll see like Springfield, Illinois, or like Chattanooga, Tennessee, like these bands from, representing the non like A markets, which I think is super sick. Lexan, one thing I'll call out, unlike the last two records, this demo does not have a song called The Choice, which both Mystique and Force had a song called The Choice.
But you know what? There's things called fun facts and then unfun facts.
Fun facts and then unfun facts.
Fun fact or unfun fact, you decide. Columbus, Ohio band. Zach said he didn't like the first demo at all because of the production value. I think maybe when we talked about it, he was nicer, but because I remember like we all really dug it, but like the main nitpick from all of us was like the vocals were blown out, too low in the mix, and like not that they were listening to us by any means, but like they came back, they totally nailed this. Like the vocals are crisp, they're up front, they sound gnarly, they sound pissed off, and like despite the recording being cleaned up, it's still like gritty and raw. It's just like more crisp and biting and I don't know. I love it. I think this is like the perfect, you hear a band that has a cool demo and you hope that like whatever they do next, they step it up. And they really did, I think, with this. While this is a second demo, quote unquote, it's really like 7-inch quality. And I know 7 inches are like next to dead today, but like if DGR put this out on 7-inch tomorrow, I'd buy it for sure. This band really leans a lot into the mid tempo, similar to a band like Restraining Order, who just like really like finds their, their niche in the mid tempo, like boot vibes. Lexan does it, but it doesn't sound like Restraining Order at all. It's just, I don't know. They really hit that rock steady vibe really well. But there's still like enough fast parts sprinkled in to show you they're a roots hardcore band. And then they throw in some bluesy, like rock and roll leads and licks throughout. Yeah, I really like this a lot, actually. And, we mentioned the No Idols demo a bunch on this pod just because it's so good. Like, this Lexan demo, in my opinion, is right up there with it for like demo of the year.
Yeah, I don't even remember talking this before. So I think that is kind of, it goes to what I said, right? We probably listened to it. I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. Don't like how the vocals are. And then I like never thought about it again. And so I think that this is obviously a big improvement, especially like the best stuff on here, I think, is when they lean into like the sleazy rock and roll, like guitar stuff, like the breakdown riff on Luxury Tax or the opening riff on Putting Your Dog Down. And I think that Luxury Tax song is like by far the best song on here. Maybe because it's the only song that's like under 2 minutes. Some of these songs feel a little long to me. Like that first song, it feels so long to me. Like it has like, 7 parts or some shit in it. It's like I'm listening to Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. But I dig this overall. I think it's a good band. I think that every element of it is pretty good. It's just sometimes it sounds a little long to my ear, but I'm a wild man like that.
A whopping 2 minutes and 31 seconds on that first track.
I know. And we're going to talk about a record that have long songs on it next. So what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that this is pretty good. I don't remember if I ever listened to them before. If I did, I certainly forgot that I did. So I went into this completely fresh. It did remind me a lot of the Suicide File, but kind of through like the 2024 lens of, I don't want to say that it sounds like a Skinhead or Roy band or anything, but a lot of guitar work these days kind of has that type of stuff peppered in. And I feel like this just has a little bit of that there. The vocals were pretty good for me. I thought that they were kind of a little like over dramatic a little bit at points, but overall I think that this is pretty good. I to be honest, it's not really a style that I really return to too much these days. So I wasn't like seeking this out, and I probably won't listen to it too much, but I also don't hate it or anything. Like, I think that it's pretty good. And like, I think all the points that you guys bring up are valid with it. It just, not my favorite thing.
I'm taking it back to the old school because I'm an old fool.
I'm taking it back to the old school because I'm an old fool.
Yo, what's up, motherfuckers? Old school.
All right, we are going old school. We are continuing Dan's journey through the Poison Idea collection, and we are to the one that a lot of people were looking forward to us talking about the most, and that is the record Feel the Darkness, which came out in the year 1990. Dan, how do you feel this stacks up in the catalog?
I think this is so good. I love the way it comes in, like right out the gate. It's almost like they're channeling the Damned on that first song, Plastic Bomb, especially on the woes. To me, it just sounds so much like the Damned. But Jerry Vanian's vocals are so sick throughout the entire LP and lyrically. But it's so interesting to hear that, like, super great production, and, knowing that this is in 1990, that there's just, I don't want to say like an elevation, but it somewhat feels that way. Like, there's some actual, like, hey, let's go in and let's really take our time and record this and sound like really do these songs justice, because all the other stuff has been absolutely fantastic. But there's some definite production choices here that are a little bit different than anything that's come before. I mean, favorite songs, I love Plastic Bomb. I love The Badge, which is essentially like a total Poison Idea version of, like, lyrically, it's like a full-on Poison Idea Portland version of like Riot Squad by Coxsparrow to an extent, It's like talking about someone coming out of the police academy and just being a scumbag, whereas it's like, trashing the old friend who was a Bobby on the beat back in the Coxsparrow stuff. This is more like way more seedy and like disgusting and like, fuck you, pig. And it's so good. And then, of course, can you guess what my favorite song would be on this?
Alan's on Fire.
It's taken by surprise into Alan's on Fire, mid-tempo banger central. Like, both those songs are incredible, so tuneful, so while still being so raw, and they just like flow so great. And then the actual title track, Feel the Darkness, is a total, like, it takes some getting used to. That's the one I had to go back to listen to a few more times than the rest of the record, because it is it's kind of so different musically. Also, I love like a lot of the lead guitar playing on this. Obviously, that is always what they bring to the table better than almost anyone, but there's some straight up like things where like Dave Murray and Adrian Smith would be like, hey, I really like those harmonic leads. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some like really good pairing off guitar parts that even Maiden would be like, that meme you always send us of like Grizzly Adams doing the nod. That's what they do. All in all, this is incredible. I've always seen this record cover and I've always been like, is that Tiny Tim? That is so weird. And now, it's really great to have gone on this journey and really dive into this LP that is so celebrated and have some knowledge. And I stayed away from this while we were doing this project to just listen to it this week, in the build up to this. and I've listened to it at work like 25 times. It's so good. I really love it, and it will be with me for a long time after this.
What do you think, Kevin?
Dude, this is easily the best Poison Idea record. It's one of my favorite records of all time. It captures everything about Poison Idea all in one. Like, it sounds huge. It's got the songwriting has improved. It's fast. It's got the epic guitar leads. The lyrics are unbelievable. Like, everything about this record is perfect. Plastic Bomb is up there for greatest punk songs of all time. The way that it starts with the piano right into the Maiden guitars, right into the Calvary coming over the hills drums, and then the greatest woes of all time. Like, dude, I think about Plastic Bomb like probably almost daily. I'm not exaggerating. Like, it just gets in my head. The Badge, what makes a person want to be a cop, is just such an unbelievable. It's so simple of a line, but it's so like perfect, and it kind of saves the mosh until the very end, and then probably has the best mosh part on the entire record. Just to Get Away is just one of the greatest songs of all time. Who has never felt like that? You know, like, just like, yo, I'm gone tomorrow. You know, like, it's just like so simple, but he expresses it in such a perfect like way that it just is just like, I could never say that, but I feel it all the time, you know? And then Taken by Surprise is just perfect punk songwriting. Like, it's got it all. It's got a good chorus and it's catchy, but it doesn't stop being hard. Right into Alan's on Fire, which is like one of the more raging songs on it. Just kind of like in the ferociousness of the record, not necessarily as fast, but like, it's just kind of, like I said, ferocious. And the last thing about the whole thing is that it feels like a definitive record. Like, it's pretty theatrical, and which is really hard to get right for punk bands, to kind of have like theatrics of like, I don't want to say it sounds like David Bowie or something, but like stuff like that, where it just kind of like, you can tell. It's kind of funny thinking of a band like this where they look so sloppy, and like they kind of have a reputation of just like being like, whatever, fuck it, we just do whatever. But like, you can tell that real definitive thought and care was put into this thing. And if they didn't do that, they did a great job of faking it. So it's just like I said, I this is one of the best records of all time. It's made better because the cover art is iconic and unbelievable too. It's just perfect. And when you told me that we were talking about this week, I'm like, well, that is just unbelievable, because it's one of my favorite records of all time. So I was excited to hear. This was one that I was personally like ready to hear your takes about it, Dan. And I'm glad that you like it as much as I do.
Yeah, I think that this record has maybe a claim to having the greatest A-side in the history of hardcore punk. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. And then with that B-side flip and needle drop, Alan's on Fire, dude. It is one of my most satisfying B-side drops there is. What do you think about this one, Chris?
This is an unbelievable record. Like like Kevin was saying, I've been super hyped and couldn't wait for Dan to get to this one, because I feel like, I don't know, all their records rip, but this feels like the apex. Like, everything they've done before this is really built to it. You know, they're really firing on all cylinders. I love how Kevin was saying, just like, despite like the sloppy imagery and like how you think about them and how they present, like how dialed in this sounds. And the other thing I think is interesting, and I feel like we've talked about this before, but like, for a hardcore band to like hit that apex so late in their history, you know, as late as 1990, is super impressive. You know, like, I don't know, a lot of hardcore bands feel like they flame out after 3 years, or not necessarily flame out, but like, you know, their best is behind them, you know, by the end of 2 or 3 years. So for this band to like, you know, have, you know, the best so late in their history, I think is super interesting. The recording is perfect. Sounds amazing. There's so much diversity on this from track to track. Like, each song really stands on its own and rips. But then like it feels like every other song is like an absolute hit that like stands above. And it's kind of weird for a record that is this baseline good from like the least good track to feel like it can jump up to those hits that high. But I feel like songs like Plastic Bomb, The Bedge, Just to Get Away, like all of those feel like such landmarks on this. The drums are fantastic. The guitars are shredding. Rip to Pig Champion and the Slayer Hippie. Another thing I think is interesting about this record, 1990, this is a time where crossover is probably still, really at the forefront of like the aggressive music scene. And the guitar shredding on this is crossover worthy, but like you could never call this anything but just like raging hardcore, right? Like it's not crossover at all, but like the picking patterns are like crossover epic, I guess. Crossover caliber epic. That's a mouthful, sorry. But yeah, this is an absolute Northwest hardcore classic. If you don't have this on vinyl, it feels like they repress it like every other year, so it's easy to find. Go on Discogs, and I'm sure there's probably 100 different ones for sale or any record store near you.
No. You got to buy directly from TKO. They just put out a beautiful repress. Yeah, it's great, dude. But so if I was going to knock anything on this record, I would say that it's a little front heavy. So, like I said, like side A is perfect. Allen's on Fire, perfect, like B-side starter. But then maybe it falls off a little bit. I don't love Welcome to the Quarrel. I don't love Nation of Finks. Backstab Gospel, all-timer. And I am impressed that Dan got something out of Feel the Darkness, but it's a song that I never loved. I've tried a bunch of times because it's like, goddamn, it's Poison Idea in 1990. They're one of the best bands on the planet. Like there must be something to this that I'm missing. I don't think there is. It's just fucking boring. But hats off to them. They put it as the last song on the record. It doesn't fucking kill the record. It's not like I gotta sit through Seekers of the Truth or some shit. So yeah, that's sick. I do want to call out so Chris, you talking about the crossover stuff. They do their album War All the Time in 87. And that's the one that like, it's not a crossover record, but I think that like the vibe is like sneaking into it a little bit. It sounds a little like muddier. It sounds a little darker, maybe. This, like, is bright again. Is like great, perfect hardcore punk. Like, if you listen to like Backstab Gospel, it's like, god damn, this is like perfect hardcore punk or Gone for Good. Like, this just straightforward like shit that could have like sat on anything in their catalog. Maybe not the first 7-inch, but from Record Collectors through Kings of Punk, it like just fits right in there. Just want to call out some moments. The piano intro is so good, and it's amazing because they do it so short, right? Like generally a band that's going to fuck with like a piano in the song, they're going to go full on masturbatory and like be like, oh, we're hot shit. We're doing a piano. We're going to milk it. They do it for like a couple bars and then we're just in, you know what I mean? So sick. The Badge, all-time classic mid-tempo banger, only to be followed up by another one that's like maybe even better, right? Just to Get Away. It's easy to overlook that song sometimes because like it has made so many of my playlists ever since like I heard it the first time on one of those Punkorama comps. Like it's just so good that like it's crazy listening to it in the context of the record. Like it's just one of the greatest songs of all time. One of the best rock and roll songs of all time. Right? Like if you got a homie that's like just into Appetite for Destruction, you can be like, listen to Just to Get Away. It's like, it's that good, right? It's like just straight up one of the best rock and roll songs of all time. Last thing I want to call out, well, a few more things. Take It By Surprise, all-time anthemic punk song, right? It's like any sort of oi band could like look at this and be like, god damn, I can't believe like they wrote an anthem like that. You know what I mean? But the star on this record always, for me, is the Death of an Idiot Blues. The talking parts on it are so insane, dude. Like when I drive through my neighborhood, I think of him laying there, dead, my friend, a fucking idiot, a man I used to know. And then like into that blazing solo, like fucking A, dude. And then to hit it again with like the thanks, mom, thanks, dad, I'll see you in hell. So good, dude. Just one of the greatest pieces of hardcore punk music of all time. Yeah, I'm glad you like this, Dan. I think that like for a lot of people, this is like the apex of the catalog. If I was gonna line them up, I think how I'm feeling right now, I think I'm going first 7-inch Kings of Punk, then this, but like those three could like flip any other time. And then Record Collectors number 4, that's pretty definitive, but like the first 3 could flip anytime, and then everything else kind of falls behind. But yeah, love it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things. One that I didn't say when I was talking about this is the vocal mastery of Jerry. The fact, like you called it out just there, does an awesome talking voice, does a really like foot off the gas voice, and then a full on voice, and they all flow from one to the other brilliantly. And it can't be overstated because I spent time with the lyrics while listening to this. What a master lyricist. Like, yep. Unbelievable. And Zach, a personal thing for you, the Burn 7-inch, the Inside Out 7-inch, and Feel the Darkness, all 1990. Is that going to be your best year ever?
And the second Chain of Strength 7-inch.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's 86 or 1990 or the two, you know, and I mean, 83 is pretty great too. But yeah, I mean, 80 and 81 can't really fuck with it. But like, yeah, I mean, like 1990 is one of the greatest years of hardcore music, like undoubtedly. So,
yeah.
Questions and answers.
Introducing first, the challenger, fighting out of the hard corner. The belt is on their mind, and Dan Sant is running out of time. Hailing from the greatest planet in the Milky Way, it is the #1 contender in the world!
Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Bedge, a.k.a. Bedge.
And his opponent, fighting out of the core corner, from parts unknown, weight unknown, reason he didn't pick Minor Threat in the Straight Edge Super 7, unknown. It is the reigning, defending, undisputed 185 Miles South trivia champion of the world, Daniel, these questions are too easy, Sant!
All right, and the first question goes to Ben. Ben, in the Misfits song Rat Fink, does Danzig start by spelling out rat or fink first?
I'm going to say he spells out fink first.
A point to Ben. Tricky, that Danzig character, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cover song, but I don't know if the original, if he's doing it true justice by not augmenting the lyrics at all.
Well, I was this days old when I found out that was a cover song, so I'm glad I wasn't quizzed on that. Now, Dan, in the Misfits song Rat Fink, does Danzig spell rat like the rodent or like the 1980s butt rock band?
Like the rodent.
We go to Ben for the potential steal.
Oh, you are kidding me.
Ben, in the Misfits song Rat Fink, does Danzig spell rat like the rodent or like the 1980s butt rock band?
2 T's, baby. Butt rock all day.
Dan, you got to not skip that song, man. Come on.
Shout out Mission Bay High School, where Stephen Piercy went.
Yeah, shout out to that. And shout out to an underrated Misfits song, dude. This song is so dumb. I love it so much. Okay, let's go back to Ben for round number 2. Ben, in the visual discrimination song Those Drugs, the singer Tim states, when he sees a mind polluted with those drugs, knowledge is A, diluted, B, derooted, C, rebooted, or D, mad stupid.
I'm going to go diluted. I don't know the answer. This is a guess. Diluted.
Man, the challenger is coming strong today. A point to Ben. And we go to Dan for a overseas hardcore question, which is not in his wheelhouse generally, but we will see. Now, if you've been paying attention to episodes, you should know this one, dude. And shout out to Daniel from Sorry State. Before changing their band name to Restitute, this legendary Finnish hardcore band was called what?
It's Cadgers.
A point to the champ. Ben, were you going to steal that?
Fuck no.
What? Ben, you've not been listening to those starter kits?
I have. I was even inspired to buy the Llama Complete Discography CD from listening to the starter kit. I just would not have gotten that correct.
Oh.
Well, this one isn't going to test your Finnish knowledge, just your spelling. Ben, spell restitute.
Well, it's a Finnish word, therefore it is impossible to spell, but I will do my best. When in doubt, add vowels and consonants where they don't belong. RIISTYYTT. IT.
Oh my god, dude. This was like Dan like being one word off on a 25 to Life song. Very close, but we go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, take your stab at spelling restitute.
Oh my god. RIISTY TYT.
A point to the champ. What the fuck? Dan is only getting Finnish hardcore questions from here on out.
I will
Christ.
be finished.
Wow. Okay, and we go to Dan for his round number 3. Dan, on the first GBH 12-inch, do you see the cover dude's left or right ear?
His left ear.
We go to Ben for the potential steal. Ben, on the first GBH 12-inch, do you see the cover dude's left or right ear?
He's facing to the right, so you see his right ear. I mean, he's facing to the left. You see his right ear.
A questionable point to Ben. You're lucky there's no referee this time around.
Yeah. For real. That was terrible. and also, it is his left ear if you're in England. It's his right ear if you're in America.
Well, if you're holding up the record and looking at it in the mirror, then it's the left. But okay, let's go to Ben for his round number 4. Ben, in 1985, Mystique Records released an ill-repute collection titled after an egg dish. What was it?
Omelet.
A point to Ben. All right. And we go to Dan for his question number 4. Dan, what is the Buzzcock song that was covered by SSD and was also a Dave Weinberg band and is also what you'll get if you DM 185 miles south on Instagram instead of emailing?
Well, if you DM 185 miles south, if you're anyone other than Big Stone Dog, you will get no reply.
Point to the champ. You don't miss. Okay, and let's go back to Ben for round number 5. To all my science peeps out there, I apologize in advance. Scythomalus stetalis semi-balonus balanoids, and that guy that only went to 2 punk shows in 1984 but is active on Facebook telling everyone how much better it was back in the day are all types of what species?
I can't wait to steal this.
Let's see. Troll isn't an animal. That's a mythic creature, so it couldn't be that. Poser is not an animal either. I'm gonna say dog.
We go to Dan for I mean, fuck it. Nice try. We go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, Scythomalus stellatus semi-balanus balanoidus, and that guy that only went to 2 punk shows in 1984 but is active on Facebook telling everyone how much better it was back in the day are all types of what species?
They are barnacles.
Oh yeah.
Point to the champ.
That's right.
Point
Barnacles.
to the champ.
Also, it does say mollusk, so it's giving you like mollusk vibes in
Right.
the scientific Latin.
How about that? Okay, we go to Dan for his question number 5. Dan, the partisans sing of how many... What the fuck? I worded that wrong. Dan, the partisans sing about how many years in hell?
17.
Point to the champ. And we go back to Ben, round number 6, the heartbreak round. Ben, does the eyeball song Talking Straight appear on their 7-inch Talking Straight?
I'm talking straight, never ashamed to dun, 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 dun. It sounds like a trick question. I do own all that shit, and I don't know the answer, so I'm gonna guess that it does.
We go to Dan for the potential steal. Dan, does the eyeball song Talking Straight appear on their 7-inch Talking Straight?
No, it does not.
A point to the champ. It appears on the For the Sake of Dedication compilation. But the first song on the eyeball 7-inch starts with him yelling, "Talking Straight!" But that is not the song Talking Straight. So how about that? Okay, Dan, in the E-Town Concrete song For the Fame, who is the gentleman that got shot in the opening verse?
E-Town Concrete song for... Now, can you clarify to me, is it for the fame, for the fame, or for the fame?
Listen, buddy, I'm not in the hot seat here.
And is it a number 4, or is it... No, just kidding. Okay. Someone got shot in the E-Town song. I'm just going to harbor a guess here. For the fame. Is it someone famous?
There's no clues.
Clue.
But the riff goes
I'm just gonna say John Lennon by Mark David Chapman.
We go to Ben for the potential steal. Ben, in the E-Town Concrete song For the Fame, who was the gentleman that got shot in the opening verse?
I'm gonna go with Abraham Lincoln.
No points this round. It was Logram. Okay, and let's see.
One question though: is there N-words in that song or not?
Once again, Dan, I'm not in the hot seat here. You are the contestant, not myself. We go to the subtotals. Dan, you have 6 points. Ben, you have 5 points. And let's hit it.
What? What? Okay.
Champ, do you want to bet heads or tails?
Heads, please.
It is tails. So Ben, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second.
All right. Champ, how many points do you want to wager? You have 6 and Ben has 5.
You know what? I'm going to wager all 6.
I don't think I have a backup plan here again. Okay. Dan's all in for...
I love putting you on the hot seat, trying to come up with a tiebreaker off the top of your head.
That's right. Okay. And Ben, how many do you want to wager? You got 5.
I'm going to wager all of them.
Yes.
Great. Now I will scramble to come up with a tiebreaker. Although, God damn it, Dan, you should know this shit. We went canon this time around. Okay, Dan, this one's for you.
Okay, can I hear it 5 times in a row, please?
You can. Here we go. Is that 5? I'm scrambling to come up with a tiebreaker.
That was 4. Give me 2
Okay,
more.
here we go. You want another?
Yes, please.
Does the crowd want another? Let me hear you. Here we go.
Okay. I think I know what song it's from. I think I know the majority of the lyric, but it's throwing me off because when I've listened to this song like a bunch. This is a track, by the way. This is a good song. I hear him saying yourself in this, like judge for yourself, but I am not in my head. This line ends with wise to the game. So I'm like, I don't know, it's making my brain hurt, but I'm going to say, he says, time to rise above the ignorance, judge for yourself.
So close. So close. He says, time to rise above the ignorance, gain knowledge, and judge for yourself. Everyone, come up front, sing along.
I blew it because if I'd actually just asked to hear it one more time instead of getting in my head and going, because he normally goes, time to rise above the ignorance, because I'm wise to the game.
On the chorus,
right?
Yeah, but this is the breakdown.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yep. Yeah, it was there, and gain knowledge is pretty legible, dude. So
it is very legible. I will fall on the sword on that one.
All right, we go to Ben for his. Here we go. That was way harder.
Yeah,
I know, but I didn't turn it up enough. I know it.
I turned it up all the way.
Here you go. Okay.
Here's another one.
Can I hear it three times in a row?
Of course. Here we go.
You don't see the sign, you're in love, and you are wild.
I will say that the guitar, is definitely running interference on this part.
Well, and that's a sick ass drum fill too.
Yeah, but the put the jealousy aside is so legible.
Yep. Yeah. Put the jealousy aside and start helping each other out. Positive hardcore. Everyone, come up front, sing along.
Do you know what? We can't even critique our boy RTL on this one. He's actually saying these words instead of, the mumbo jumbo we're normally getting with. And I feel like I'm getting better at this because I'm getting wise to the game.
Well, this is an all-time classic. You should just know it on principle, dude. This is very disappointing. But we go to the tie-break round. We are going to do songs off 7 seconds, The Crew. Dan, we go to you first.
Young Till I Die.
Yep, Ben.
Here's Your Warning.
Yeah, back to Dan.
Not Just Boys Fun.
Yep. And back to Ben.
The Crew.
Where are you? Yep. And back to Dan.
Definite Choice.
Yep. Back to Ben.
Clenched Fists, Black Eyes.
Back to Dan. We're getting there.
We Will Attack in Red and Black.
Need the song title, Dan.
Okay, sorry. Red and Black. I'm just enthusiastic.
We go to Ben.
How about... Man, we did all the hits already.
Ryan Fredette's favorite 7 second song is still on here.
Damn, this is tough because this is a record I've listened to 10,000 times.
And we're counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Daniel Sant, champ once again.
Right.
Left on the table. Aim to Please, Boss. Ryan's favorite song, Bully, Colorblind, Die Hard, I Have a Dream, Straight On, my favorite song.
Trust.
This, yep, that's coming. This is the Angry Part 2, Trust. What if there's war in America, you lose, and your mistake.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
What if
yeah.
there's war in America? I forget about that.
I interviewed Kevin Seconds about the song Colorblind for an article I wrote for the Trust fanzine, and I couldn't come up with Colorblind. It's ridiculous.
Well, congrats, champ. You've done it again.
Thank you. And an interesting fact about colorblind, it is spelled the English way, I believe, on the record.
How about that?
Check. Oh, shit. Money talks, let that bullshit walk. Acting hard, but we know that you soft. You talking shit, but you ain't backing it up. You need to take my advice, sit down and shut the fuck up. If I'm lying, then I'm dying, cause I know that you a bitch. And if I beat you...
People send me new music all the time, and last week was no different. A longtime friend of mine sent me a band and was like, hey, you got to check this out. You know, and he knows me well, and he has impeccable taste in hardcore. So I was excited to check it out, but the timing was wrong. You know, I was like, dude, this is Bayway record release week. That means it's Bayway all day, every day until Saturday, you know? And he agreed as a fellow Baywaysman, and he began to celebrate Bayway week in his own way. But yeah, joining me on the line is J-Way from Bayway, motherfucker. What's up, dude?
Man, how the fuck you follow an intro like that, man? You know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to say after that? Hey, thank you. Thank you so motherfucking much for having me. Thank you for that fucking intro. And it's Bayway all day, every day on this side of the motherfucking earth where I live. I'll tell you that. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you fucking with the record this week. And thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. So this past Saturday, Bayway did a record release show for their new EP titled Bayway Takes Manhattan in New Jersey, with the newest iteration of 25 to Life, Shattered Realm, Death Before Dishonor, and more. And yeah, before I get into it, I just want to say, if you want to hear a more extensive interview with Jay, check out episode 151 of the This Is Hardcore podcast. They get into his whole life. And you know, Joe, he does those great long-ass interviews. But we're doing a little truncated thing this time around. But yeah, let's get into it. The show last night, how was it, dude? Give us a breakdown.
I mean, start to finish, absolutely insane. It's a newer venue in Jersey. So, you know, to me, I'm Jersey through and through, bro. I want this scene to thrive. And, you know, it meant the world to me to get as many motherfuckers into that building as I possibly could. I was willing to do whatever it took to get that place to be full for New Jersey hardcore. And, you know, to get these kids something, you know, to sink their teeth into. And the lineup was fantastic. Shout out to Takedown. Shout out to Greg, Hold My Own, Greg Mongloid, whatever you call him, Greg Falchetto. I call him my friend. You know, shout out to him for all the work that he does behind the scenes. Shout out to the Black Box for having it. It was just, you know, from top to bottom, the lineup was fantastic, super solid. I mean, you got guys like Blackest Dawn who've been doing it for a really long time. Human Blister, just, you know, these kids that they're 16, 17 years old, you know, some of them probably 15, and insanely talented death metal band, just stupidly heavy. I mean, Death Before Dishonor, I mean, I think it goes without saying. I mean, what do you say that hasn't been said? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I got the opportunity to play 3 times. I played in Shattered Realm, obviously. I played with 25 to Life, and then I did the Bayway thing. And you could probably hear it in my voice a little bit. It's a little strained, but, man, well worth the experience. And, you know, I feel honored and blessed to have been able to celebrate the record coming out that way in Jersey at a new spot in front of that many people. And, you know, I mean, what a fucking blessing. I mean, just a humbling experience to have that many people give a fuck about, you know, my stupid band.
Whenever you do like a record, it feels like it's like a total package. Like you're pretty gifted in the way that you create like a vibe with each release. And like this one is no different, right? The Bayway Takes Manhattan theme for the record is a great play off, I think it's Friday the 13th part 8, right? And super sick idea. In fact, like even to like cap off the night, you did a screening of the movie after the show. Tell me about like the whole idea of working this theme and topping it off with the screening.
Well, you know, I wanted to, Bayway has been releasing sort of like every 6 months, I guess, right? And we've been kind of doing October and we've been doing May, right? So I wanted to do something in October that was horror related because, I mean, obviously Halloween. But then I took a look at the calendar and I'm like, you know what? There's 2 Friday the 13th. There's one I believe there's one in September and then there's one in December coming up. So I said to myself, man, how interesting would it be to do a play on Friday the 13th? Jason Takes Manhattan was like sort of one of those films that when I was a kid, I thought it was like so goofy and stupid, and it just had such great, like, just a tremendous amount of dumb shit occurs. A dude gets his head punched off. It goes into a fucking dumpster. It has the whole Manhattan theme, which I grew up in the shadow of New York City, going there as a kid. I remember as a younger kid when New York was real fucked up. My mom used to like tuck her purse underneath her coat and put her coat over it. Like, New York wasn't always like it wasn't always the New York of today. Let's just put it like that. And you know so it was one of those things where it just kind of made sense with the 2 Friday the 13th being like, sort of lined up. I wanted to do the first track on Friday the 13th in September, and then I wanted to do the last track Friday the 13th in December, but it didn't work out with the label, so we weren't able to do it that way. But that was the original plan and idea. And then I just wanted to keep with the theme, like you said. I try to keep everything I try to keep everything attached. I try to keep everything together. Like, I try to keep the branding strong. So we had the character from the world of Bayway, full length. And I hit up the artist and I said, hey, listen, man, can you draw me something in vein of Jason Takes Manhattan, but I want to use the same character that we had used previously. And he was all about it. So it just really started to come together. A lot of the songs were written, we joked that we never stopped writing the demo, and it's kind of true, because in 2022 we just kept writing songs. And a lot of these songs were written probably 12 months ago. So like a lot of this stuff is like old to me but new to everybody else. So it's been a long time coming for this to come out for me, and conceptually it's been a long time coming. But yeah, I'm very very happy with what it turned out to be, and how it, the whole packaging of it and everything. It just really seemed to come together really, really nicely.
It's sick that you go to like that part 8 too, because it's the one Friday the 13th that kind of like feels like a trauma film, and trauma, infamous like New Jersey shit.
Yep, you got it. You're hitting a nail on the fucking head, brother.
Bayway always seems like the most active band, even though you aren't a full-time touring band. What do you credit this to? And then also like for young kids doing bands like that can't do like the full-time thing, like what advice would you have for them to like pull off, like kind of you feel full-time but you're not full-time?
I had a really interesting conversation with a guy who's much smarter than I am, and I like to have those conversations because you learn something. And what he told me is that, we're the days of the 30 to 60 day tour. Like, yeah, you can do that, right? You can do that. And it definitely is going to benefit your band if you do it correctly. But, we're in the age of social media and internet, and a lot of this stuff can be done, just by having a strong internet presence, just by having a strong social media presence, a creative social media presence. And, when he said that to me, I was like, maybe I'll let the fucking Instagram do the tour for me. Bayway is going to start getting more active in 2025. I think a lot of what I didn't want to do in the first couple of years was I didn't want to play too much. There's a lot of conversation on the internet about bands doing too much, playing too much, things like that. You see stuff like that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted Bayway shows to feel special. And we got a lot of really cool opportunities. And I think, the reason it seems like maybe we're more active than we maybe are is because we are doing a lot of traveling to hit key markets in order to make sure that we are getting to the areas where people want to see us. Like, we're lined up to go to Texas. We've had a lot of requests to go there. We're doing FYA in Florida. We're going to go do Reading with Kubla Khan at this, for Keystone Jam. We went out to Cali twice, once with E-Town. I met you on our first Cali run. And then, so we did Chicago with End It. You know what I mean? There's so many cool things that happened over the course of the last year that, I think made the band maybe appear to be more busy than it was. And, it's weird to even say more busy than it was, because behind the scenes, I feel like we're working this like a full-time job. We're just not out playing 6 times a week.
Yeah, I want to do a little dusty old guy section here. So, warning if you're under 30. But I think we both really date ourselves by caring about like the regional aspects of hardcore that have kind of been lost in a way. Before high speed internet and especially social media, different regions and hardcore scenes had like different sounds and different vibes. And that's kind of a big part of what gave hardcore so much personality. And obviously Bayway is like a hard band, but Bayway also kind of seems like a personal love letter to like a specific time and region. Do you think this is accurate?
I had this conversation, oddly enough, yesterday with the dudes in Death Before Dishonor, and I said what I always liked about Death Before Dishonor was they were a band that sounded regional. You knew where they were from by the way that they sounded. And, at the time as a kid, going to see a Death Before Dishonor and a Shattered Realm show, you knew what you were getting. You were going to get really grimy, ignorant New Jersey shit. And then you were going to get that Massachusetts, vibe that they have that is very much a regional thing. And as far as Bayway is concerned, I think if you listen to Bayway and you don't find it to be regional sounding, then maybe you're just not aware of what the region sounds like, because we're very much, I think we're very much a love letter to 90s hardcore done specifically in the stylings of New York and New Jersey. Very much a New Jersey band, but it's impossible to not be influenced when you're a New Jersey band by a Madball, by a Bulldoze, by a 25 to Life. These bands were so crucial to what was going on here. And then to have in New Jersey, NJ Bloodline, 1 for 1, Fury of 5, E-Town, even bands like Fat Nuts and Conspiracy that people don't really know about. These bands, like, they had this very specific sound that I think is kind of lost. It's a good thing in the age of the internet that we can all mix we can mix cultures, we can mix sounds, we can mix all of this stuff. It's very easy to do. But I think to your point, we have lost a bit of that regional hardcore sound. With Bayway, it was important to me when we brought it back, like when we decided, hey, we're going to do Bayway. It needed to, I kept saying to them over and over again, I kept driving this point home. I was probably pretty annoying about it. So shout out to Chris and Dave for always, just hearing me out and not thinking that I'm an annoying idiot. But I very much wanted it to feel like how I felt as a kid getting into hardcore.
Yeah, we got to mention those 2 Fat Nut 7-inches on Back to Basics are great. So if you're listening to this, you haven't heard them before, check it out.
Setting it straight.
Yeah. And I think that the drummer of that band played in Bulldoze. Is that it?
Nah, Seth, who was the singer for Fat Nuts, he also played in Conspiracy. He went on later to play in 25 to Life. He was in 1 for 1. That's right. The thing about it is, the joke goes, oh, I didn't know Zach was in 1 for 1. It's like, oh, everybody was in 1 for 1. You know what I'm saying? It's New Jersey. Yeah. Like they were all just, they were all just making bands, and it's like Agents of Man, Bulldoze, Train of Thought, basically all the same guys. What an incredible record.
If you're a kid getting into hardcore in the 2020s, like, how do you think they should balance like caring about new shit versus like caring about the old shit?
I have an interesting take on this, because I really enjoy doing 25 to Life and Shattered Realm because of this question, right? Like, to me, I think it's awesome when 25 to Life can hop on a show with a bunch of younger bands. And for a lot of those kids, they may never have heard of 25 to Life, which to me and you sounds ridiculous, right? But to them, it's a brand new band. And I think that really provides an opportunity to further the history of hardcore and really teach kids that like want to sink their teeth into it. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I first got into hardcore, my first order of business was like, okay, I like this band, I like this band, I want more. I need to figure out where these sounds came from. Who was the first band to play a breakdown? Why does hardcore sound like this? Why is it so fast? What are the punk bands that these dudes were listening to? You know, like that. I started to do all of that and just really try to like sponge it all up. So I feel like we're provided an opportunity when we have a band like Shattered Realm or we have a band like 25 to Life on a show with younger kids and their bands, and you have this unique opportunity to provide like sort of this, you know, historic look back into where these bands came from and why they sound the way that they sound. And it's a really, really cool and unique opportunity to bring that stuff to the future. And you know, I think it is important. I think anybody that comes to a hardcore show and keeps coming back, I think it's a natural progression. You know, I don't spend a lot of time or waste a lot of time, and I'll say waste because I think that it's a strong enough term. I don't waste a lot of time giving a fuck about what gateway bands got you into this or got you into that. I'm happy you're there. And if you continue to come and you continue to support the scene, I can't look at you in a negative fashion because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's really it. That's all hardcore's about. It's supposed to be a personal thing. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the gateway doesn't matter as like long as you're honest about it, right? Because you gotta be, you know, like you said, it doesn't matter how you get here, but don't be lying also.
No, 100%. Don't be fake about it. But listen, I never had that problem. You know, I used to Ant from E Town used to call me Slipknot Kid because I used to have the Slipknot hat to the side. You know what I'm saying? Back when I met him in 2001, and you know, I got no qualms about it, brother. I was as new metal as it comes. But you know, once I found E Town and Downset and Hatebreed, I was like, well, I think I'm moving on, fellas. I think I found my new thing that I'm gonna fucking dive headfirst into, and that was the end of it, you know?
Yeah, and that's why it's important to be yourself, right? Because like you give the permission structure for other kids to be themselves.
Well, I guess you know what the thing is I learned a long time ago that you can fake it or you can be yourself. But the thing about it is that when you're yourself, you're unique because there's only one you.
For sure. Hey, you do engineering too. What's the secret to getting that ignorant Bayway snare tone?
Well, you know, I asked the dude from E Town. I went to go see him in. I went to go see him in Atlantic City, and I asked Teddy from E Town. I said, "Bro, how you get that snare sound on Time to Shine?" And he told me, he's like, "Bro, I really had no idea what I was doing. I'm pretty sure I put the snares on upside down when I changed the head by accident. I just kept cranking it to try to get it to sound like a snare, and that's just what it sounded like." And I said, "Say less." And I went home and I bought a $50 snare from Guitar Center, and I took the snares off. I put them on upside down, and I cranked it. And sure enough, that's what you hear on World of Bayway 2.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yes, sir. That's it, man. That's the secret. Now everybody knows.
Hey, that's right. You got to send royalties the J-Way.
Hey, no, send him to Teddy. Send him to Teddy from town because I got to be honest with you, bro. You know, a phenomenal drummer, phenomenal guy. If you ever get the opportunity to have a conversation with him, just a really, really strong, confident guy with a lot of integrity and, you know, really respects energy. And to have a conversation with him and have him be so open about it. And it's just to your point, right? Don't fake it. Like he told me straight up, he said, "Bro, I had no idea what I was doing. I fucked up probably, but it sounds great. And now it's an iconic thing." That's cool as shit to me to be able to, you know, to have a guy just act like that is awesome.
Yeah, I always like when bands that you don't expect like have like that real like old school punk attitude. And like I saw E-Town. They came out here a few times, and the first time I saw them, they played up in like the Santa Barbara area, and there was probably only like 30 kids there or something. You know, this is probably 98, 99. And dude, they played a show like there was fucking 1,000 people there. You know what I mean? And like, it's sick to have that attitude, especially when it's like bands that, you know, the general consensus aren't thinking like, you know, they're not a basement punk band. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's always been E-Town's MO. I've seen him in a VFW hall. I've seen him in you know, in a gigantic club. I've seen him in other markets when they were on tour where there wasn't that many people there. And the one thing that I would describe them, if I had one word to say about them, it's consistency. They are always going to sound like E-Town. They sound like the record. They rehearse. They're serious about it. They perform. They have a lot of energy, and they give you everything that they got. And that's why I became so addicted to them at such a young age. And that's why I'm still here fucking riding for them this long, because they really are. They're true to form. They don't care. They're there to have a good time, and that's what they intend to do, and they do it, and they do it well.
Yeah, and you can't you don't want to 30 people showed up, right? Like those people did the right thing. You don't want to fucking hold it against them, you know.
The thing about it is that, you know what? You can look at it one of two ways. Oh, only 30 people showed up, or oh, do I want 60 people next time?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, every time after that was better.
If you give 30 people everything you got 60 next time minimally.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, what do you want the Bayway legacy to be?
You know, honestly, if I could say anything, I just want. It's an incredible question. You hit me with it like so nonchalant too. But if I wanted anything for Bayway, or I want people to think about Bayway in any way, I would like for them to think about it as their band. It's not mine. Doesn't belong to Chris. Doesn't belong to Dave. It's their band. And last night, you know, when we got on stage, the stage was everybody in New Jersey's. It's their platform to get it out of their system, because, you know, to me, there's no ownership over hardcore. I got into hardcore because I had nothing else. And that's what I hope people take away from Bayway. I just want the legacy of Bayway to be, you know, when I hear that, it's a release. That's what I want people to have with it. It's a release. I hope they can relate to it, and I hope they can, you know, get past the problem that they have, or just feel better about their life in general. And if that's the legacy of Bayway, I'm good with it.
I love that. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
You know what? I can't think of anything offhand because I'm fucking exhausted, but here's what I will say. Shattered Realms got new material December 2nd. 25 to Life is writing new material right now. And Bayway's 4 songs into a new record. I got a lot of really cool creative ideas coming at everybody. And, you know, I look forward to getting a little bit busier in the new year. I'll see everybody at FYA December 14th. We're in Texas, December 7th. We're at Reverb for Holiday Jam. We got a bunch of other cool stuff lined up that'll be getting announced real soon. Instagram, Bayway NJ. My Instagram, JWay908. My studios, Bayway Studios on Instagram. Bayway Records is on Instagram. You know, hit me up. I answer every message that comes through. You know, I ain't afraid to have a motherfucking conversation with somebody that fucks with what we're doing. And even if you don't, I'm not afraid to have that conversation either. You know, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for having me. And I really appreciate the time that you put into, you know, supporting bands and giving people a platform for the things that they create and the things that are important to them. It means a lot. And without people like you, there's no people like me. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Okay, final thoughts, Dan, on everything.
Final thoughts is that I really loved everything we listened to this month. It's really weird coming to the end of the year and, you know, looking back, and there's so many things that you can pick out, and then there's so many other things that you maybe spent a little bit of time with. But I'm really glad to go on the classic train as well, and have gone through a year of listening to Poison Idea like throughout the year, and really, really enjoying it. And I'm glad you all put me on this ride.
Well, we're not stopping. We're going on trucking through the catalog. We still got more to go. Okay, Chris, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Every year is the best year for hardcore, and 2024 is no different, as well as all the other years that we covered early today. Awesome pod. Love talking all this stuff. Love revisiting the classics that I hadn't heard in a couple weeks. Loved really digging into some of this new stuff. Love chatting with y'all. Thanks for having me on.
The classics I haven't heard in a couple weeks. That's so good. Man, it's been 2 weeks since I listened to Filler. It's fucking time. So sick.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah. Kevin, final thoughts.
I'm still going back and forth about Agent Quarrel versus Victim in Pain.
Respect. Okay, Dan, where can the people find you?
On Instagram, at Southport Instagrammer.
Chris, where can the people find you?
You guys almost flipped me on the breakdown Radil discussion, so I'll add that in there too. You can find me at ChrisWilliams51 on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm trying to get off of Twitter as much as possible nowadays, so yeah.
Hell yeah. Kevin, where can the people find you?
Not Fair to Flare on Instagram, and that's pretty much
it. Yep. Shout out to the greatest Royal Rumble, dude. What's up? Everyone, get at me, 185 miles south at gmail.com. That's the best way. I respond to everyone, even when you send me actually emails. I appreciate those too. Don't DM me. But we're on all the socials, 185 miles south. And on Substack for the time being, as long as our conversion ratio stands strong. Much respect, everyone.
Got the one in the